Hello everyone, it's Julia with Senior Susie Stamps, and I'm glad you're here today. I have a little card gift holder to make today with you, and this is the piece, and I'll go through the measurements with you, but it is 11 inches long and 5.5 inches high, and if you cut it out of a full-size piece of cardstock, you'll have a nice 3-inch piece that's 11 inches long. I've already used up some of this and some of the things that I've made today. But let's talk through this piece and then I'll show you some examples and we'll put one together. I'm going to make this out of some 12 by 12 paper, but I wanted to start with an 8.5 by 11 piece because some point you might want to make this out of some plain cardstock and then cut decorator panels to go on it, but today we're not going to do that. However, the first score is at 1.5 inches. The second score is at 4 5/8. The third score is at 8 7/8. And then this is just the leftover panel, which happens to be 2 1/8, which is exactly half of an A2 size card width that's 4 1/4 inches wide. So now on this one I have gone ahead with my corner rounder and used my smallest rounding on each of the 4 corners. I've also, on the 1.5 inch side, taken my piece and put it down on my mat and marked the center, and then I used a 1.5 inch circle just to make my little divot for pulling things out. And then we're going to put glue here and here, and then you can see your card will fold up either like this or like this, depending upon the pattern that you want to make. And at that point then you just need to decide what kind of closure you want to have. Let's look at a couple of examples and I'll show you a couple of different little closures here. So this one has like a little belt closure. This is just a piece of scrap that I corner rounded the edges on and put a little embellishment on, and I only glued it here and here so that I could tuck my little belt flap in that way. And then my little pocket over here is on the right side on this one, and of course it would hold a gift card or a bookmark or maybe a small calendar or some earrings, whatever, and then your sentiment will go in here. And one of the nice things about these kind of card gifts is that you can put them through the mail in an A2 size envelope and hand cancel them, and they'll travel just fine. See, there we go. Let me show you a second one. Now on this one, it has a belly band that I made with a little doily and a little gem, and this paper pack had some little sentiments with it. We're using the Christmas plaid paper today from paperwishes.com. And on this one, I put my little gift flap on the left side and folded this flap in just for, well, primarily because I got my paper on the wrong side and used my pretty piece here, and I didn't want to cover it up like that. But when it's done like this, it just adds quite a bit to the backdrop of this overall card. Now you'll notice here on this one I didn't corner round the edges here, but I did on this size, and I used the medium size round over on these, but otherwise these are basically the same card format. So let's start with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. Oh, wait, before we go, here's another idea for a closure, and it uses an old Stampin' Up punch. This one, it's an old label punch, but any kind of decorative punch, you can make your little belt, and this is a doubled over piece of cardstock, so it's fairly substantial, but you can make your belt then to go through like that. This makes a great Santa's belt buckle, and do it maybe in gold or bronze and have a black belt in it then. But this kind of closure, it holds well. It's substantial because this is doubled over and glued. And some ideas for using this 3-inch piece, especially if you make it out of white cardstock, is to get some punches out, like for example this one that's a leaf and berry punch. And then I just made some little decorative embellishments to go underneath a cluster, which we're probably going to use here in a minute. Now, let me back my camera up so that we can look at a piece of 12 by 12 paper, because I want to show you how the cuts go. It's kind of important that you do your 11-inch cut to maximize your paper. So let me pull my camera up. Hang on just a second. So I think we'll use this one for one and this one for another one. You'll notice on this paper that there's a nice 1-inch treatment over here, and I've noticed that some of the paper companies have started doing this. They understand that we need 11 inches frequently for a 2-size card, and out of a 12 by 12 paper we have a 1-inch strip that we can utilize to do something else. So on this particular paper, I would cut my first 1-inch piece off of here, and then I would cut my 5.5 inch here and my 5.5 inch here, which would leave me a 1-inch strip that's 11 inches long here. And both this one then and this piece are a good size for a belly band or any other kind of embellishment that you might want to make with a strip of this paper. And on this one, there's a couple of them. There's one here which would be nice. However, I think, let me get my ruler. Yes, that's just right at 1 inch right there on that burgundy strip. And then over on this side, you really kind of cut that off. So to me, this one might be a good option. And I think this one would be a good option as well for a strip. So what I want to do, I think I will use this little embellishment that I made out of a piece of scrap on this particular paper, and I think I'll use this piece to make my gift holder, and I believe I'll cut this piece off. So let me cut these papers and I'll come right back. Okay, so I have 4 nice strips here and 4 panels that will make 4 of these little gift closures, but I only need 2 for today. So I'm going to choose to use this one, I think, and then one of these pieces. And I believe I'll use maybe that one, and then I think this one, and I'll save these strips for another project. I'm going to use this little tag that I showed you last week. I added a Merry Christmas sentiment. This is a very flat tag, but I think I'll use it on this paper, and then I think I use this little one here over on this paper. So let's get started, and we'll do each one at a time here. I'm going to get my scoreboard. And now, you know, when you're working with a scoreboard and designer paper, you have to be a little careful, because you can plunge your scoring tool through your paper if you're not very careful. Now, on these cards, when you're using designer paper and not just putting panels on, you have to be careful which side you're going to use for the 2 1/8 side and which side you're going to use for the 1.5 inch side. And I think that we'll use this one for this side. So I want to turn my paper around over here like this, and start my scoring at 1.5. Let me get my figures here. So 1.5, 4 5/8, and 4 5/8 is 1 tick past the half mark there. And then at 8 7/8, and that's 1 tick shy of 9. Then I'm going to turn my paper on my scoreboard and mark it at 2 3/4, just a little tick. I better get a pencil. There's 2 3/4 right here. Okay, then I'm going to get my little punch and punch my little thumb hole, putting that kind of in the middle there. There we go. And now, of course, I need to decide if I'm going to round the corners, and I think I will on this one. And I believe I'll use this medium size round on these corners. And then if I'm going to distress anything, now's the time to do that as well. And so I think maybe we'll get a little bit of ink out and do just a little bit of distressing around the outside edge. And I think I'll just go ahead and use some black on this one. And I'm just going to go around the outside. And I'm just dragging my little dauber down the line. I'm not really flicking it too much, maybe on the corners a little bit. I did not put any distressing on those first two that I did because I was really just trying to get the measurements right on that. And then I'm going to flip it over because the inside of this paper will show as well. And there we go. That's the end of the distressing. So now I want to put a little glue here and here, and I don't want to put a lot of glue on. I want enough to glue it down solid, but leave enough room so that I can put a variety of things in these little holders because they're very versatile. There we go. And so here's the first one. There we are. And now I need to go ahead and fold the rest of this card. And I think in this one, this instance, I'm going to fold it this way because it doesn't look quite right to me folding up that way. So I think I'll fold it like this. I'm going to make sure my lines are kind of square there, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish these lines in here. And when you have a double border like we have here on this paper, sometimes you do have some conflict with which one of these goes on the top and which one goes on the bottom. Do the best you can with that because these are just really, really pretty cards. And I think I'm going to do it this way so that my little gift holder will go on the right side because I like the way that comes out of that corner just a little bit better. Now, what I need to do is figure out my belly band, and I believe I'm going to use, I don't know if I want to use that side or this side. I believe I'll use the plaid side. I didn't think I would, but I believe I will. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little distressing on this as well, on both the long sides and one end, because I'm going to have to cut this a little bit shorter. So now let's see, how short do we want to go? I think maybe about right here would be good. And that's just eyeballing it. I just want to have some good glue coverage so that when the belly band is pulled on and off, that there won't be any stressing on that glue. And now I've got those ends glued, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this little belly band together now. And I got plenty of surface for glue, so I'm going to put plenty of glue on there and give myself a nice area that I can glue other things onto. And there we go, right like that. So now I have this little decorative element that I made. Let's put this on the little pack here and see how that looks. And I like it kind of down a little bit lower, maybe. Here we go. Let me get my sentiment book and get a Merry Christmas out. Maybe I'll add just a little white, and we'll use this Magic is in the Air for this one. About right like that, I think, perhaps. Maybe over here. Yep, I like that. Let me cut this one a little shorter. These are ready to glue down, and I happen to have a little piece of foam tape on the back of this, but I want to make sure that I don't overshoot my belly band here. And it looks like I might have done just that, so I'm going to get my X-Acto knife here and just cut a little bit of this off and try very hard not to cut my paper. Sometimes we end up being kind of a surgeon to our cards, don't we? If you don't have one of these finger blades and they don't scare you, they're really very handy to have. That's a Fisker's brand. Okay, now let's go ahead and get this put together. I'm going to start with my little embellishment piece here. There we go. This is a good way to use up some little scraps, is to make some little clusters out of them and then use them on some belly bands or just on some sentiment clusters to embellish your cards with. So here's this one. I'm going to glue it down, and I think, let me put just a little bit of black around the top of this. I didn't get that done before we put it together, but I think I will add just a little bit here just to add to the mystique of it a little bit. There we go. This little gift sticker, I have no idea where it came from, but I think I got it from Hobby Lobby 4 or 5 years ago after Christmas sale on some of their embellishments. Now, what I'm finding with belly bands is it's better if, when you're gluing things, if you don't glue right over to the edge, because that's the most stressful part of your belly band. However, with this one, we're going to have to come pretty close in order not to cover up my sentiment. That is okay. Now, I made these little guys to kind of go with this, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to use them or not, because it may extend past the edge of the card. And of course I don't want to do that because I do still want to be able to mail these. Let's look and see here if I trim this one little leaf off, perhaps, if we can at least use one of them. wonder if we could put the second one on there as well. Maybe make it just a little bit shorter. How about like that? I think that's going to work. Let's get this guy glued down. There we go. Now, on the inside of this, all you need to do is to put a panel in. I happened to think about this little sentiment that I had in my notebook, and I think with the front being magic in it is in the air, let the magic of Christmas fill your heart with wonder is the perfect sentiment for this card. And I think I will be consistent from the front and just put a little bit of black ink around the outside edge of this, and then glue it down into this panel right here. There we go. And now this little holder is ready for a gift card, some little flat gift that I might choose to give to someone for Christmas. Let's put it together and see what it looks like. And there we go. Let's put this other one together and see what it looks like. So I have the same thing. Now this belly band could go that way, but it doesn't really match this paper, so it's pretty evident that it's going to go this way. Although this is going to be the inside of the paper. Let me go ahead and score this, and then I want to turn it up on the 1.5 inch side and make my little mark at 2 3/4 and punch out my little divot. And now I want to go ahead and do my folds and see how it looks, so we know which side is going to go on top. I kind of like it that way, actually. Let's look at it this way. Well, it looks nice that way also. Well, let's do this one a little differently since we did the other one like this. We'll do this one that way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and round to my corners, and I think I'll use that same medium-sized corner rounder punch just for a little extra interest here. There we go. And now I can go ahead and burnish my score lines down and put my glue in. There we go. Hold that for a second to dry. I don't think I'm going to put any ink on the edge of this one because I don't have any ink on the edge of my little tag that I made the other day. Let's see, I'm thinking maybe the tag sitting over here like this would be pretty. So it'll open up like this. Let's figure out what we're going to put on the inside. And since the Merry Christmas is in red ink, I think I'll do this one in red ink as well. There we go. So it's going to come like this, and then we'll do our belly band. And which end do I want on the belly band to be the most pronounced? And I think it's going to be this one. This one is a little too chopped up for me. So let's fold that over. And then I'm going to fold this one over, but I'm going to slip it out that way just a tiny bit before I fold this one. Just enough so that I can fold it nice and snug. But I've got my easement over on this side, you see. There we go. Right like that. And now I can trim off a little bit of this one right in through here so it won't grab on anything. And I can go ahead and glue my belly band together then. And then I believe I'll put this little piece here right like this so that it'll kind of go maybe kind of over in the middle a little bit. Let me put my belly band on and figure out the placement here. So now I think I will put a piece of foam under this little tag here just to elevate it up a little bit, and I'm going to put it right here on the belly band so that I don't have to worry about it like I did that other one. And then I'm just going to set this in here. And so this little tag that I made last week comes in very handy to embellish this little belly band. And it's made out of paper that's totally unrelated to this paper pack. Our little gift can go in here, and then it closes up. And that's it. See how simple these are to make? I was tickled with them. And this plaid paper just works beautifully for this concept. So here they are. There's another one floating around here someplace. Let's see, where has it gotten to? I've lost it. It's in the envelope. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed these today. Maybe you'll think about making some out of your 12 by 12 paper or plain cardstock. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.